Hi, this is Christopher, and this is What's Brewing. Hi, this is Christopher, a team member at Rooted, a technical and media consulting firm based in Broussard, Louisiana. Recently, I've been reflecting on my career, kind of where I'm at, where I've come from, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my first certification story with you today. So, vocationally, I had a very different career prior to my technical career. I was a pastor that served on staff at churches since 1996 and was transitioning out of a part-time position in Ville Platte, Louisiana, and looking for opportunities to just sort of take some of the things that I had began to dip into and turn it maybe into a career. Go from a sort of jack of all trades and a master of none to maybe being a little more specialized in something. And so a good friend of mine, David Donham, gave me the opportunity to start my technical career at Donham Computer Services. I was doing mostly PC work there, but because I owned an Apple computer, I had a chance to do some tech troubleshooting. And that was really the beginning for me of sort of pursuing certification, because I realized I wanted to know or have more formal training through some kind of courseware. Now, at the time, I was super unaware of the Apple ecosystem, so I went to Google and I started looking for training, and I happened upon the hardware training, which is called GSX, or Global Service Exchange. And there's really two parts to that training. There is the hardware side, and then there is the software side. And I started to explore all the hardware portions of it, and realized that, it was interesting. I thought the information was useful, but wasn't necessarily something I was passionate about. And then I started moving over to the software side of it, and that's where I really felt like I connected, I enjoyed it. And so I ended up scheduling the test at a testing center, and it, went there. I passed. It wasn't glorious, but I passed. And so feeling good, I was looking through all the other tests that you could take at the testing center, and I saw that there was another Apple test, another software test, and I was like, cool, I'm just gonna schedule it. And so I did. Well, I lived in a relatively rural area, so we went out to the big city of Baton Rouge, my wife and I, for a date night, which constituted going to dinner, probably Barnes & Noble, and grab some coffee. So while I was at Barnes & Noble, I picked up a copy of the courseware, and because I saw it there. Now, to this point, I was doing all online training, so I thought it might be a good idea to have the physical book just in case you need to reference it in the future. So I pick up the book. This is a Friday evening. And by the way, this dates back to 2007, October of 2007, so it was a few years ago. So I go home. I don't really think about it. I'd scheduled the next test for Monday, and the training center, or the testing center, was about an hour from my house. So I don't pick up the book. Around 8 o'clock at night, I happen to just pick it up to do a little bit of review, because I'm feeling confident that I got this. I've already slayed dragons on this test before. I'm going to knock it out the park this time. What could possibly go wrong? And I start to look at the sort of table of contents, and I realize there's content about like scripting, which I knew nothing about. There's things on networking, which I knew even less about. And I start to realize that the courseware was very similar, but not identical. And so I frantically study until around 1 in the morning. I'd scheduled my test for like 8 in the morning. So it was an hour drive. So I'm having to like get out the door around 6:45 to get to the training center, to be there on time, to be proctored. So I felt like one of those sort of mad scientist boards with like all the red, lines everywhere, and I've got stuff highlighted and scribbled. And so I'm driving, and I'm trying to like out of the corner of my eye like review, and I get there a little bit early. I'm reading as much as I can. I go in. I'm nervous at this point. I'm freaking out. Like I'm panic attack. I'm already not a good test taker at this point, and I take the test. It gives you immediate results. So I get my results, and I think the passing score was something like super low, like maybe even 65 or something like that, maybe 70 points. It was lower back then. Anyway, I miss it by like 3 points. Now, from a like pride perspective, I'm thinking I'm the Apple person, right? I'm the Apple person. I'm the Apple expert. That's how I sort of see myself at this point, a legend in my own mind, if you will. And I'm devastated. Like, I failed. I spent a lot of money to go take a test an hour away, and I failed, and I'm like, ugh. Now, at the time, just for other context, I was only making about $10,000 a year. So I'm making a hot $200 a week. So for me, that test, which I think was about $200 at the time, maybe $250, that's literally a week's worth of work. Like a quarter of my month's salary just, got like, dumped into this test, and I failed. And I'm just devastated. I go back home, I'm sullen. I kind of go under a rock for a few months, because this is around October when I failed. And I was really nervous I was going to take it again and fail it, because there was rules like of how frequently you could take the test and like what could happen. And so I ended up just studying a little bit, finally worked up the courage to reschedule it, because I was procrastinating. I was so intimidated by the process that I just scheduled it. I want to say, I've got my iPad here. I scheduled it for December 14th of 2007. So this is like a couple months after I failed the first time. And again, I drive out to the testing center. I'm super nervous, like super nervous. And I took the test, and I passed it with a whopping 3 points. I got the score +3, and it was, again, incredibly low bar. Like, looking back, they always say you don't know what you don't know. Well, I truly didn't know how much I didn't know. But for me, that story is important because it's not the last time I failed. I fail pretty frequently. There's the old adage, Babe Ruth struck out however many times, but he's like the home run king. And I feel like every time I took a test and passed, it was an accomplishment. But every time I took a test and failed, I always felt like I understood what I didn't know, and I better sort of knew my limitations. One of my favorite authors is John Maxwell. He's a leadership guy, and he has an entire book on this topic called Failing Forward. I recently reread it about a month and a half ago, and it's just a collection of insights about everyone who succeeds fails. And it's okay to fail. It's okay to push yourself. It's okay to know your limits, so that way you can overcome those limits, and to know whether or not how to better study or better prepare yourself, or how to look at it differently, right? Or change your tactic of studying or your test taking. And at the time, I didn't have really good study habits. I had test anxiety to the max. Like, I would leave sort of shaking. That's how I felt going in. But for me, that was one of those sort of life change moments. Taking the test the first time would set the tone for the subsequent 100 certifications that I now have. And when I look back at 2007 to now, it all started in that place. And I'm really glad that I failed. That makes me human, right? That makes me still relatable, and I still relate to myself back in 2007, because I never feel like I'm the shoe-in. I always feel like when I go into test at a level, I'm a little bit of the underdog, because I feel like certifications and testing and assessments are all about challenging you, and all about pushing you forward, and all about focusing you so that you really know the content. And when you fail, it's an opportunity to refocus and double down on your efforts. Later on, a few years later, around 2011, I was able to go to Cupertino. I actually still have, if you can see it here, my temporary badge, and I went to Cupertino, and I'd applied to become an Apple certified trainer. Dwayne Moss was my mentor trainer in that class. So thankful for his leadership that week, for the things he passed on to us, and for the entire class that I was with. I'm still friends with a lot of those folks to this day. I keep up with them on LinkedIn. But I would eventually pass that T3, train the trainer, become an Apple certified trainer in, at the time, OS X Lion. And then I would go on to do the Server Essentials, where Adam Carnabogi was my mentor trainer for the Server Essentials class. So grateful for, again, his leadership and the relationship that he had, and being a springboard, again, that would propel my career to opportunities that I never thought I would have, introducing me to people like Craig Cohen, who had would allow me to work with HCS Technology Group and just have access to just a group of absolutely wonderful people that are so important to me today, all started with that one certification. It was the path. So I don't know where you're at in your career. I'm a huge fan of professional development. Anyone who says that a certificate is just a piece of paper, I appreciate that sentiment and I respect that perspective, but I disagree. It is representative of a lot of hard work. It is representative of a lot of fails. In my case, I can speak to that. Like, I've had to get that piece of paper, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there, and it didn't mean nothing. And it did teach me so many things, because through that training, I've been given the opportunity just to do some really neat things. And for me, it all started with Apple. And so I'm just so grateful to Apple Technical Training and Education Services that focus on giving everyone an opportunity to succeed at Apple and with Apple because of the training that they provide. Just so grateful for it. It literally changed the course of my life. And I think just beginning the journey is, I think, the bravest thing that anybody can do. And don't give up. Just don't give up. Don't quit. I feel like a lot of the folks that I'm surrounded by are, just years of experience beyond me. Again, I had a very different career before I chose technology, so very different skill set. And so I felt like I was always at a disadvantage. But what I've learned over the years is that don't compare yourself to anybody else but you. Just be better than you were the day before. Be better than you the test before. Other people should inspire you. Their example should just inspire you and motivate you and move you to action. But don't get trapped in the comparison game. Just be the very best you that you can be. And I'm not just saying that. I wish, like some of my peers, I would knock it out of the park every time. I think it would be fantastic. That's not me. It just isn't. But I am proud of the fact that I started, I didn't quit, and because I started and I didn't quit, I'm here today. So maybe you're struggling with, maybe it's not certification, it's something else. Listen, just jump in, keep going. It's like a river. Eventually, you'll catch up. And, you don't know who you're going to inspire by being brave and overcoming some of your challenges and fears and some of the things that you feel like hold you back. Anyway, hope this video is encouraging. If you're looking for technical training, check out training.apple.com. There's lots of resources there. And if you just want to talk, you can DM me. Love to chat with you on the Mac Admin Slack. You can find me on all the social medias at my tag @JoseMocha. I'll put it right here on the screen, and I'll also put a link to my LinkedIn as well as my Facebook and Twitter handles, so that way if you want to connect with me, I'd love to just talk about your technical training journey, or maybe how you can move your career along. If you're looking to get into this for the first time, I'd love to share some of my experiences and maybe help you along the way. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.